All right. I have all of the signals coming at me from the computer that say I am live. Hey everybody, I'm Chase Jarvis. Thank you for joining me for coffee. I am in San Francisco here at the CreativeLive studios. I'm just about to jump on a plane to Seattle and then to New York, but I was thrilled to be able to open up a little forum for us to have a conversation. I got two different monitors going here, and this one had a better camera, so I apologize for not looking right into the camera. I've got a few things open on my screen here, and it looks like people are joining. Give me just a second here. I don't know if you can see how blue my face looks, but let's see. So we got about 30 minutes. My cup of coffee is not going to last that long. I'm going to refresh this page here and make sure that the internet knows that I am hanging out. All right. Gonna mute. All right. So, again, I just did a little intro, and there's a bunch of people that are just joining, but I'm going to keep on trucking. Anyway, thanks so much for tuning in. I've got a bunch of questions from the blog. Some are coming in via Twitter. I want to say thanks to my friends here at CreativeLive and at Chase Jarvis Inc. for filling up the questions queue, and thanks to you for paying attention to what I've been doing for the last short while. I just had a great conversation with the person who won the contest that I had with CreativeLive and Adorama to give away 2 classes from CreativeLive, $500 from Adorama, and a 60-minute private call. And that was David Arthur. He's a photographer from Indiana, and we talked a lot about how he could sort of restructure some of his thinking around how to reach his target audience. We didn't go too much into technical. We did a little portfolio review, and we talked about my Seattle 100 project and how that's something that he would like to do in his community. So thanks a lot to David. I know he's still watching here. I've got him on a private channel over here where we can ask some questions. So I'm going to just get right into it, and you can hit me up on the Twitter. It's probably too many things for me to do at one time to talk and answer and do Twitter and whatnot, but I'm going to do my best. There are a handful of questions, people who pre-asked questions. Why am I so blue? Look how blue I am. Maybe I can change that. Watch this. These automatic cameras, it's going to make me look even more tan if I have more blue in the picture. Oh well, I'll just be a Smurf. I like, yeah, me in blue. How about it? So I'm going to go right to it. Crystal Keppel asks, will you discuss how you do so many different things, keep your days organized, and keep your cool? Maybe that's where all the coffee, beer, bourbon comes in handy, based on a reference that I said in the blog post. In the recent years, and I'd say maybe in the last 3 years, I started trying to apply a schedule to myself. Not a schedule in the militant sense, but before then, I had no schedule. I literally thought that a schedule and times when I did things, that was meant to keep me down, and that I was a wild artist and I needed total freedom. The irony is that you're reinventing things all the time if there's no systems. So I have a couple super simple systems and some super simple rules that occasionally I break them, but just things that help me be better organized and get more done. I am a little ADD. I've never been formally diagnosed, but the ability to be doing a bunch of stuff at the same time has always been an interest to me. But what I do find is that when I focus on one thing, I'm way better at that thing. So whether it's publishing a book or running CreativeLive, I try and give as much attention as possible. There's a couple key things that I follow. One is I try and have my mornings be my own. If you wake up and the first thing you do is check your email, and then you invariably get an email that you're not that psyched about, or that might have come out of left field, or there's the desire to check that email to find out who's pinging you. What happens is that actually takes the things that are the priorities in your life or your day and move them to the back, because you get distracted by the stuff that's right here. So I try and make my mornings myself. Even You know, at CreativeLive, I don't take very many meetings in the morning throughout the whole week. I block that out as my strategy. That's when I do my best writing, my best thinking, my best creating. And so I try and make that time sacred. When I'm on a shoot, your whole day is not your own. You're working for a client, for example. That's sort of a different box of rocks. I try and think about the context. I think the context of the question was really about how do you take time for yourself and prioritizing the things that are important to you, like where you want to go with your life and your career and your work. Those are the things that I wake up and look at first and spend my time doing that initial time. So there you go, Crystal. Again, a lot of good questions pouring in here via the Twitters. Let's see. Here's another question from Corey Thompson. For those who work full-time and have a family but aspire to be a professional photographer, how do you make time for it all? How do you stay on top of constantly producing fresh content to grow a business, etc.? So if you work full-time and you have a family, this is the straight talk here. Are you able to make money as a photographer? Yes, you can probably do that. Are you able to be a professional? Well, if you have a day job, then you probably aren't really being a professional, because being a professional means making your living off of your craft. So, but can you make money? Yes. Can you be the best in the world or in the top X% or whatever, you know, if you have a different goal, not knowing exactly what your goals are there, Corey? And the answer there is no. Can you make money? Yes. Can you have fun? Yes. Can you be successful and have a nice side gig? Yes. But can you make a living while you are doing all these other things that are taking up your 9 to 5 and taking up your weekends? And the sad reality is no. And it's not, maybe it's not sad, it's just the reality. Because who are you competing against? You're competing against me or this person down the street who that's all they do. They live and think and breathe it every single day of every single waking moment. So the thought that you're going to be able to casually dip your toe in the pool and kick ass above and beyond the people, the millions of people who are thinking about it every waking second, is just, it just doesn't happen. And you can be incredibly talented, but hard work beats talent almost every time, and especially beats it over the long run, because there's a lot of talented people in the world who don't apply themselves. So take it back to the top. Can you make money? Sure. I think that's actually what photography is largely evolving into. A lot of people not doing it professionally but make money on the weekends. You can do that. Becoming a professional or being the best in the world or best in class, not going to happen. Just setting your expectations. So there you have it. I just got another glance at myself in the camera here, and I'm so blue. I'm not feeling blue because I've got a couple things to mention while we're here. A couple questions in. My dear friends at Anorama, they actually created a special page. I wonder if I can cut and paste that into this page here, where they have said they would give some special pricing on some gear and some of the gear that I use. So I'm going to throw this up here, this link right there. If you click there, those fine folks said that they would, fine folks, friends at Adorama, said they would provide some special pricing on stuff. And again, they gave away $500 to David Arthur in addition to the chat that I just had. And they have, oh, I just got a text from Whitney. They're also giving away $100. So I will right now give away $100 to the very first Twitter question that I see coming to @ChaseJarvis right now. I'm looking at my mentions, and as soon as that refreshes, I will give away $100. Oh, there we go, and that goes to Declan McConnelly. Hey, and his question is, will we see Chase Jarvis on DRTV, that's Digital Rev TV, again at any point, or is there a special appearance lined up? Declan McCauley, you just scored $100, and if you're listening, send an email to production@ChaseJarvis, and we'll send you that gift card. Big shout out to Adorama. Thank you very much, and I'm going to answer your question because you just won $100 too. That question is, will we see me on DRTV again anytime soon? So I went all the way to Hong Kong to film with those guys 2 years ago, and last year I was over there on an assignment, and we did another spoof episode with Kai Man Wong. I actually imitated Kai, and I came on as a character that looked just like him. I was in costume called Kai Man Wang. It's up on the internet. Check it out. It's a fun thing. But I do not have a plan to go there again. And actually, I'm going to be in Hong Kong again in the fall, but don't have a plan to do another DRTV. But you never know. All I'm waiting for is an invite, because it only takes a half a day to shoot one of those shows. So maybe I should have Kai over to Seattle. Maybe I'll have him on CJ Live. Anyway, Declan, you want $100 from Adorama, and you should email production@ChaseJarvis and identify yourself. There you go. Thanks, Whitney, for the reminder. Let's see. Let's go back to the questions. More questions from Twitter. @EthoVideo says, how does your photography video make you feel and why? So photography makes me feel joy. I feel a lot of joy when I'm making. That's, I think, my natural state, is to be creating something, whether it's a photograph, a painting, a fine art project, a book, or in this case where I'm at today, CreativeLive, a business. Making something is my natural state, the state that I feel like I'm most myself. So it brings me great joy, and that's one of the reasons I chose to be an artist and a creative, as for a living. There's a certain bias that I have towards doing things that you love, and imagine if we were full of a world full of people where most of the people got to do the things that they wanted to do. I realize that can't be true for everyone. But what if we could get close to that? And what if you right now, who are watching at home, left the crappy cube that you were in, that you didn't like, that you didn't want to be in, and went and pursued your passion? I think you'd probably be a happier person. The world would likely be a better place because of it. So, especially if that happened at scale. And what I've found just from traveling the world and talking to people is there are people who want to be and do every different job in the world. Not everybody wants to be a freaking photographer, or not everybody wants to be a marine biologist. There's just the right amount of people probably spread across the world to make that possible. So do what you love. I love making things, and there you go. That's my response to @EthoVideo. @Ross de Jour. I guess I'm doing my best to get these questions. They're coming in very fast. But @Ross de Jour says, almost every area is flooded and competitive. What's some advice to photogs wanting to make an impact and create content on YouTube? I feel like the internet is very community-centric, and I feel like passion for a particular subject matter is, if it's genuine, then you can feel it. So my advice is, regardless of competitiveness, is doing the thing that you love and doing it well on a regular schedule is the most important thing, whether that's creating YouTube video, but doing it around something that you care about, so that you have the energy to push through it when things get tough, or when you're tired, or if you love it so much that you'd rather be doing that than anything else. That's where the competition is going to fall away. Every barrier that came up for me as I was sort of ascending and working my way through a career in photography, I looked at that as an opportunity, as a challenge to get around, because I knew that the people who I was competing with in the marketplace, for example, they weren't going to want it as bad as I did. And so every time I came up against some sort of a hurdle that I had to go around or through, I was like, oh wow, there's a lot of people, like, this sucks. Doing your taxes the first year before I can afford an accountant or whatever, this sucks. So if you want to be in business, and you're not making any money and you have to do your own taxes, boy, this is brutal. So anyone who wants to be a photographer, they get to this point, they got to do their own taxes. That's going to just weed out all kinds of people right there, because most people don't want to deal with that. I'm willing to, because I want to be a photographer more than anything else in the world. Therefore, I'm going to push through it. So doing what you love allows those things, those barriers that come to you in a competitive environment, become nothing for you, or just a small hiccup in your get up, versus to someone else, they become a big hurdle. So I think that dispels a lot of the competition. And the other part that I referenced was doing something on a regular basis, like putting content out all the time. I will confess, my blog has not been as core as I want it to be, and it's because I've been so busy. But rest assured, I have a plan. I'm on a comeback trail to be able to, I'm carving out some specific time every day to write and to think about that stuff. So As an example, that's how I want to continue to make an impact. I feel like I've got a unique perspective and I want to be able to share it. And the same is true for, again, whatever you feel like you want to apply to yourself. How do you make an impact? Do the things that you love, do it better, harder, more, faster, whatever than other folks that are out there. Do it regularly, and then try and be different, not better. Make your stance. The answers are in here. They're not actually out there. Everyone looks out there, on the horizon, to try and find the things that they should be doing. But the reality is that if you turn this part of you inside out and share your perspective and you're sort of vulnerable, you should watch the Brene Brown episode of Chase Jarvis Live. It's super powerful. That's actually what's going to make you different, to be vulnerable, to share your unique perspective. So it's a combination of all those things, Ross du jour, that is the answer to your question. How do you overcome a flooded competitive marketplace? Be better, be different, be consistent, do what you love, because as soon as shit gets hard, when you want to do it and nobody else does, you'll stand out. Phew. As soon as we're done with this broadcast, you should go check out, I got a new blog post today. And I'm firing up the email newsletter again. It's been dormant not dormant, it's been slow for a couple of years, but I fired it back up and I'm dropping one every week now. Every other week, it's a photograph that I have from my past and I'm breaking it down. If the breakdown gets too long, I'll do a blog post about it, which is the blog post that went up today about a pretty simple image, actually, but the story behind the image is actually what the tale is about. So check that out, and again, that goes into your inbox if you are a newsletter subscriber. I will throw that. You can join my email newsletter. Let's see, I'll throw that right in here. Boom. Right there. Join my email newsletter, and again, look for the blog to be more fired up. Now back to you guys. More questions. We're only 19 minutes in. Not bad here. Let's see. Dr. Van, or Vane, Dr. V-A-N-N-E, writes from my blog, at what point in your career did you start working with a team? And how did you connect with each member for the first time? I think there's a little bit of an obsession with having a team because it means you don't have to do the work, or maybe it's a sign of success. So I'm going to say Van instead of Vane. Dr. Vane's, it's got there's a little curve to it. Look how blue I am. I don't know if I'm blue on your screen, but I'm just bluer than blue, like a Smurf. Smurf Chase here, answering a question for Dr. Van. When did I start working with a team? Gosh, it started out very slow, which is what I would recommend. I started out with a part-time intern, and then I moved that intern into a part-time employee, and then that part-time employee became a full-time employee, and that full-time employee became 2 employees, and those 2 employees became 3, and those 3 became 4, and 4 became 5, and that's how I grew, and that was over many years. So just like rolling over one day and saying, wow, I'm so big and important that I need a full-time staff, and I'm talking full-time. In the case of my employees, they were profit-sharing, IRA-matched, benefited employees. There's a real responsibility there, and I don't advocate jumping into that anytime soon unless you have a many-year track record of revenues that are steady and growing and you're actually underwater. The ability to hire freelance help, your friends or peers or people that are in your social circle or professional circle to do good work with and for you, I think that's a great start. Once you're doing that on a regular basis, that'll be a good indication. When you have so much work and the pipeline is so full, that will tell you when you really need to get a full-time employer, or FTE, as they are called. And that's a whole different ball of wax when you're employing someone. You're working with the government. You got to pay into their Social Security and all that stuff. So you want to make sure you have that stuff dialed. But don't hurry. It took me, I would say I sort of accelerated that process, but because I achieved a fair bit of success early in my career, but I'm not going to put a timeline to it. It's not necessary. All right, let's see. I'm getting messages from my crew here and from you. Gosh, a lot of great stuff. Hoon Son says, composite images, a must for commercial advertising world, question mark. Also, in your retouching, do you do it or do you farm it out? Composite images. Well, let's be clear. I would say most images in advertising are composites. They're the best of this. I mean, even the best facial expression versus the best body position, the best sunlight versus the best car. And they're putting those things into the same image. So, do all of the images in commercial advertising come to be like that? No. I actually prefer to do as much in camera as possible. It saves a lot of time and money, and that's just my particular approach. I have a little bit of a passion for that. I try and make cool shit happen in camera. So while composites are rampant in advertising photography, not required. Retouching, however, is. And there's all kinds of different schools of thought here, and it's very much around what products you're shooting for, what brands, on what budget, for whom. Generally speaking, being a good retoucher is important. Now, my deal with Photoshop and Lightroom and Aperture as an example, we'll talk about Aperture in a second. I know you guys have some questions about that. Is I'm just good enough to be dangerous. I can show the beginning stages of what I want to do. I don't take the time to go in and to do every hair. I've got someone back at the ranch, Norton, who I hope you're watching right now. He's an amazing Photoshop folk. I've had him on staff for a long time, and have had many different Photoshop folks on staff over the last 10 years. That's just, I find, not the best way for me to personally spend my time once I've set the direction. So again, I know just enough to be dangerous. I don't spend all of the time doing all of the detail work. I farm that out. But to say farm it out, I just farm it to someone who's on the CJI team in-house, knows everything about my style, what my goals are for that particular image. I think something that I'm very interested in is how photography, let's just take it back from the high-end advertising world for a second. Photography is now a piece of cultural literacy. You need to be a decent photographer, whether it's just for your Instagram or Facebook accounts. But it's a new mechanism. It's not new. It's a mechanism that is been greatly amplified over the last 5-10 years around telling a story and presenting a point of view. So photography has cultural literacy. There's more people now than ever before who know about photography and Photoshop. Does it require that you are an expert at it? No. At the high-end advertising, yes, just enough to be dangerous. But even at the ad agencies, when you're working with ad agencies, sometimes they want to retouch it, or sometimes there's a struggle. Like, you want to own the picture, the final deliverable. This is the way I approach it. But there's folks on staff that, maybe on the agency side even, that can do some of the less sexy work that's more like masking and cutting out or whatnot. So sometimes it's collaborative. So there you go, Hoon Son. Thanks a lot for the question. Let's see, what else we got coming in here? Chase, do you shoot less commercial work because you're so focused on CreativeLive? It feels like you're looking for novelty after being so active for so many years. Or are you rejuvenating in the moment, or at the moment? Very good question. That came in from Keith, but I don't know where Keith got it, maybe from the interweb somewhere on the Facebooks. So over the last several years, I have become more and more picky about the projects that I work on. I no longer want to be hired just for a viewpoint. I call it monkey with a finger. I want to be hired because I have a very unique perspective, and I want it to be somewhat complex. It has to be a brand that I love and think is great. The work has to be creative and interesting, give me a bunch of freedom, and it has to be multi-dimensional, either that I'm shooting the still campaign and directing the commercial, or I'm, like for the Samsung campaign, for example, I was the subject of the commercial, shot the stills, and directed the behind-the-scenes video into a very cool package that won a bunch of Addy awards. So there are fewer of those projects out there. Those projects tend to be higher pay, but also the ability to tell that story is something that you have to have some sort of reasonable social savviness as well. So I'm looking to do less projects, but projects that look specifically like that thing. And I turn down a lot of work that doesn't look like that. The follow-up question being why? One, because definitively as someone I'm the CEO of CreativeLive now, that has been an amazing challenge, something I couldn't be more happy about. And in the future, I believe that all CEOs will be artists, and I plan on writing about that soon. Because businesses don't have founders. You don't find a business, you make a business. So, and the fact that I'm able to reach through the hard work of everybody at CreativeLive and the instructors that are on their platform to be able to connect with millions of people and teach them how to be more creative in their life and how to transform the life that they don't want anymore into the one that they do, which is sort of what CreativeLive does. That gives me great joy. It's also a big, hardcore challenge. So yes, that is one reason, but I'm still active, and I still do a project every quarter, at least a project every quarter, where it looks, again, very much like what I just described. It's multi-dimensional, it's complex, it's with a great brand. So I've just become super picky. Now I'm creating stuff every day on my own, and doing a better job of sharing that over the coming months is a particular goal of mine. So, great question. To be able to be picky is, I feel, very, very fortunate. But also, I like to think that I've earned it. I've been head down in the trenches for 10 to 15 years, and I take great pride in getting to work with the best brands in the world. So there you have it. It's not to say that won't change, but again, CreativeLive is a huge focus, a primary focus, and I love it. And if you're not familiar with it, you should take a peek at creativelive.com. So it's 12:30. I didn't get through near as many questions. I want to try and maybe I'll just try and like shotgun a couple out here in the next couple minutes and try and get through several. Again, a huge shout out. I'm just getting a reminder here. Go check out the blog post that went up today. Subscribe to the email newsletter. Shout out to Adorama. We've already given away $100 in this broadcast, and they gave us 500 earlier to give away. So many thanks to our good friends over there. I'm going to try and like machine gun out a few questions here so I can get to more, because I have to run pretty soon here. From Daria A, do you have any suggestions for how to refine your unique style or creative voice? Yes, repetition. You need to create. That's the irony, and the thing that most people get stuck on is, what's my voice? I try to do a thing, it doesn't feel like me. If you create every day for 10 weeks, you'll start to feel like what you feel like. I would also look for the answers in here. You can look out there, and imitation is a good way to practice, and you've heard it, good artists imitate, great artists steal. You can get information and inspiration from out there, but if you're doing the things that are meaningful to you, you really do have a unique perspective. If you're taking a picture that no one else in the world can take based on your access to information, to a particular subject matter, that's going to be a great differentiator. And again, that's what you really want to focus. Trying to just be better is not always a great. Trying to get great at your craft, that's mission critical. But trying to be better than the next guy or gal is not going to help you as much as being different in the marketplace if your goal is to get hired. Good question there from Daria A. Martin Castine says, Chase, what's the single most important thing that determines success in getting into commercial photography? First of all, is you have to be good at your craft. There's people out there on the internet that'll tell you, oh, this guy's a shitty photographer, he sucks, she sucks, I don't know how they get all this work. I'm telling you, if you've been a professional photographer for 10 years, you can't suck bad enough, because if you suck in the commercial photography world, you will be found out so fast. Now, you might not like their work, or that you might have a different preference, but the industry is too small to suck and deliver crap work. So the reality is that if you're a professional, you've been doing it for years and years, that you're better than 99.9% of the photographers in the world who want to do that. Otherwise, they would be you. So just to set the record straight, there's preference, and you can like things and not like things, but to be able to get up and do it every day for work as opposed to pleasure, it's like a professional golfer. You're paid to hit it down the middle every day. It doesn't matter if 10 people are watching or 10 million people watching. If it's windy, rainy, all that doesn't matter. If you're a pro, you got to be able to hit it down the middle, and that's what being a professional photographer does. You have to deliver over and over and over, and it's a subject matter that you don't like, or it's a person who's being a jerk, or none of that matters. And you know who cares? No one. They care. The person who hired you cares that if they put the best work on their boss's desk, and that's what gets you hired over and over. So, A, be great at your craft. that's where that part stops. And where, how many pro golfers can you name? Just a couple? Because they've done things differently, and they probably win, and they have positioned themselves in a unique way. We'll just use Tiger words because you can only probably name 2 or 3 golfers. That being said, you got to be great at your craft, and what do you do to stand out in the marketplace? So you asked for 1, I gave you 2. There you go, Martin. I'm going to take, gosh, I'm going as fast as I can. Let's see, Alma Arzip. That's cool. Arizpe. It's good to hear you talking about you. Really? Oh, thanks. I follow your interviews, and you continue learning through all the classes on CreativeLive, and I'm guessing you're thinking about Chase Jarvis Live also. What an amazing learning model you have created. Hey, full credit also to my partner, Craig Swanson, who, without whom CreativeLive couldn't exist. He and I got together, gosh, 4 years ago now, and since then, 100 or more super hardworking people make that happen every day. So I want to defer and pass along as much of that credit where credit is due. It's a huge team effort that comes together every day. So thanks for the shout out. And as regarding talking about myself, I just realized that I want to help you folks out there accelerate whatever your dreams are in whatever way I can. I haven't even had 1 sip of coffee. There you go. So now we had coffee together. But I'm going to do more of this. I'm not quite sure when or if I'm going to do it on a regular basis, but my goal is to answer your questions through my lens, and take what I say with a grain of salt. I'm just one person. I happen to have been doing this for a career for years and years and years and years and years, and I've shot all over the world, traveled hundreds of thousands of miles for hundreds of clients. So I hope that I have a perspective that's valuable. But thanks for thanking me. You're welcome. I want to do more. So yeah, I got to shut it down because I think, actually, let me look at my calendar here for a second. See if I can squeeze in a couple more. I'm very passionate about trying to do this. Let's see. All right, I'm going to bust out a couple more. Let me send a quick text here if I can push this. All right. Actually, I'm here in CreativeLive, and I'm taking photographs of all 100 employees with this Polaroid 600 SE. It's based on a Mamiya medium format body. Yeah, super, super cool thing here. Actually, I'm not quite sure what's going on here. There you go. So that's what I'm going to push back for another couple minutes because I love chatting with all y'all. I'm sorry I'm blue, not blue emotionally, blue on the screen. White balance is all crazy. I probably should have done some black and white thing. So I'm going to take a couple more questions. Whew. I'm having fun now. This is really fun. I wish there were like a live in-studio audience because I'd like that too. But let's see, what do we got? I've got all kinds of questions here. Thanks to Keith and to Whitney for sending over all this stuff for me because I couldn't be doing it solo. At Chris Ratcliffe says, what do you find that's new, that's exciting, that makes you itch to shoot something different? Let's see. What's new and exciting to shoot something different? I'm becoming really interested in just humans. I've been a people person my whole life. The Seattle 100 project, that book project that I did, was basically my earliest foray into portraiture, into people. But I mean, even like this picture that I was just, this Polaroid here, which is not actually, I didn't take a picture, that was just a blown piece of film, is about people. I'm just photographing the people that are close to me, and I realized that through my work, I do have unique access to people who are doing amazing things. If you just look at the cast of characters I've had on CJ Live, or the cast of characters that are coming here to CreativeLive, the people that I have the good fortune of being friends with, who are doing incredible things, whether they're entrepreneurs, artists, whatever, they're some of the best in the world at what they do, and I have unique access to them. And so my point and shoot, or my iPhone, or in the case like this, my crazy Polaroid 600 SE that was only made 1 year in 1978. Photographing the people that I'm close with in a way that where their guard is down and they're defenseless because of the unique access or the unique relationship that I have with them, that to me is extraordinary. And that's one of the things that is new and different for me. It's way less about the next, Fortune 100 brand global campaign. I still want to do one of those every quarter, and that's still the aspiration. But on a daily creative basis, the people that are around me, I'm so inspired by them. So getting to photograph them in a unique and, sometimes those are super fancy people who are very private. They're very public people, but I have very private access to them. So that's what I'm fired up on right now. Chris Ratcliffe, thank you for the question. I've gone way over, but I'm gonna go to 12:45, and then that door is gonna open, and someone's gonna walk in here and slap me out of my chair and say I'm late for something. So, all right, let's keep scrolling, you guys. Thank you so much for all these questions. Gosh. Gatsby asks me, when am I shooting with the Lego cam again? And you're referring to Digital Rev TV. There's so many Digital Rev folks out there. I love it. No, hopefully not soon, because that camera was terrible. That was maybe the worst camera I've ever shot with, actually. There was this shutter delay, and then there's a flash delay after the shutter. I mean, it was terrible. I had a lot of fun. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google Chase Jarvis Lego camera, and there's a fun episode of me in Hong Kong shooting with that. So hopefully I see Kai and the crew at Digital Rev TV, but I don't want to do any more Lego cam shoots. Phew. Let's see. Christian Stefan says, hey Chase, I love the value that I bring into the world, that you bring into the world. Thank you very much, Chris, for saying that. Christian, what's my take on pricing and perceived value? I think the best reference for that, I'm going to continue to point to a lot of material that's outside the construct of this context here because I have a limited amount of time. I've gone deep with folks like Ramit Sethi. He is a CJ Live guest. I was also appeared in some of his material talking about value, perceived value, etc. My personal stance is that I place myself high up in the market based on my ability to, my creative gap has gone basically to zero. I can almost always get the picture that I see in my mind or I can promise to a client. So my skill level is there. And I believe that my vision is unique and that I can take an idea, take a couple pieces, synthesize them into something new and give the client not just the thing they were expecting, sure, deliver that, but deliver something unique and different as well. So I've never positioned myself as what I call a monkey with a finger. People, the way I look at it, hire me for my vision and my ability to execute on that vision. So I also charge a premium for that, and that's not a premium that's printed in any pricing guide, which may or may not work for you at whatever stage you're in your career or whatever industry you're in. But I position myself as I put myself at the higher end of the spectrum, and that does a bunch of things. It allows me to work with the kind of folks that I want to work with, primarily because the key objective, when budget becomes less of an issue because everyone knows they're going to get paid reasonably well, then you can actually focus on the work in a way that all of the crazy financial constraints that are often placed on shoots become less of an issue, and it's really more about the creative part. And that's purely a luxury. I don't want to pretend that A, that I don't often have constraints, and B, that that's something that just you can pick up off the street. But I also, it's not for everybody, but that's where I want to be in the marketplace. I want to be in charge of what it is that I can charge based on demand, based on supply, based on my own needs. So, but for the specifics about how to look at where you are, understand it, analyze it, move up market, watch a lot of the conversations I've had with Ramit at RAMIT, Ramit Sethi. He and I have talked at length about this. I think the same is true with Tim Ferriss. I've talked to some of these businessy guys about it on the interwebs. Also, there's plenty of, I think there's some CJ Lives that, where else did I talk? Oh, how to sell yourself with Oren Clough. Oren, you're brilliant at pitching. You're an amazing guy. You're almost crazy. I love you. But he does a great job of how to pitch yourself and position yourself. Basically, put you as the prize. So those are some other external resources that you can check out. Let's see, what else do I got? Oh man, 7 or 8 new questions here. Thanks again, Whitney and Keith, for filling these for me. Neil Summers says, you and Gary V, speaking about Gary Vaynerchuk, what's up, Gary V? How you doing, buddy? Are true inspirations. How do you keep such high optimism? Man, life is short, and what I've come to learn is that you create your own luck, you create your own circumstances, and you can have a great attitude in a shitty environment, or you can have a shit attitude in a great environment, that you're largely in control of all that. How do I do that? It's a learned behavior. I think I've always been somewhat of an optimist, but also that's just the way I want to be in the world, and I made an active decision about that at many different times in my life. I meditate on a regular basis. I'm not shy about that. That helps me keep my cool. I meditate twice a day, in the morning and once in the evening, for 15, 20 minutes. And that literally has been one of the biggest game changers. And I should have mentioned that earlier on the question, like, how do you, when you're so busy doing so many different projects? What meditation allows me to achieve is, it's almost like the world's happening in slow motion. I don't get stressed out when there's a lot of stuff happening. I am able to see things that I want or that other people need more clearly. I'm more in tune with now. It helps me live in the present. And I think it keeps me optimistic. So I don't know how Gary does it. I think Gary does it because of the jet. But basically that's all I know. So I'll try and get one more question here because it's 12:45. Let's see. Mitch Jackson asks, what are the biggest mistakes you say small business owners make? Not enough clarity. You don't actually know what you don't know what you want, and you haven't defined it. You haven't defined what success looks like, and what I think success looks like should be the ability to keep your business going and thriving, not just going, but thriving. And until you define success, it's really hard to achieve it. So there you go. Just went to 12:46. I'm already 16 minutes longer than I said I was going to go, and I've got so there's someone walking in the door. Says, I got to go. Yours in blueness. Again, I don't know if I look blue to you guys, but I look very blue on my screen. So I'll consider your Smurfness signing off from San Francisco on my way to Seattle and then New York. So if you're in any of those places, wave up in the air because I'll be on an airplane. But thank you all so much. Again, huge shout out to Adorama. I'm going to cut and paste those links back into the Hangout one more time. Where is this? Well, here's the blog post that's up for today. I'm, again, putting these here. Here's the blog post that I think you should check out. Here's a link that Adorama, those nice folks over there, there's some special pricing for gear that I use. I haven't looked at this link in depth, but there's some I use and some just special pricing, like literally that you can't get anywhere else. Thanks to the folks at Adorama. And then here is the link to join my email newsletter, the VIP, in your inbox. Chase's newsletter, VIP newsletter, coming at you. Share. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. I'm going to do this again. This was too fun. For those who asked questions that I didn't get to, I'm sorry. There were a lot of questions, and there's still. Maybe we can store some of these things. We've got some answers that have been transcribed, so we'll try and get this whole thing up onto the interwebs. And if this worked for you, again, I'm promising to make a bigger effort on my blog and be a social over the course of the next couple months. I'm really excited about it. I've got a large part of my life that I was trying to wrangle earlier, I got it sort of in a good spot, and continuing to share is going to be a big part of the next chapter as well. So I'll do more of these. Please ask your questions. My goal is to add as much value as possible. We got some great new guests coming up for CJ Live. I won't share those quite yet, so keep paying attention to the social feeds. And again, huge shout out to CreativeLive, where I'm sitting in their studio, Studio D right now. Signing off. Thanks again. I really, really appreciate y'all for tuning in, for paying attention to what I do. So thank you very much, and bye-bye. Now it's going to take me a few seconds to this awkward distance between when I say bye and when I have to click the stop button, because I don't know where the stop button is. So bye.